know July 23rd, sacred day. Some say the rising of Sirius. We know the rise of Leo, which is also the Sphinx. And so it's a good day to do this also. Also, we got chief people around, witches or whatever you want to call them. And that word is fitting in the Marcellus Tarot brought up by the Moors. The word witch comes from the word vitch, and the word vitch comes from the word bitch, which means priestess of the dog star. Yeah, feminine energy. Feminine energy. As usual, what we do here, whether people accept the stuff or not, is we still, as world-class people, have to uncover thousands and thousands of pages of documents that used to belong to us. This is not a matter of belief system or religious, it's a matter of scholarship. And the world-class people need to know more about themselves on all levels. So, still in the pursuit of unearthing thousands of mysteries that was held from us. Thousands of mysteries that was held from us. The name of this one is, we're going to deal with several things, but what was the name of this? Did we give a name for this?
This was Melanin Wars Guerrilla Warfare.
Melanin Wars Guerrilla Warfare. And so what we're going to deal with, we're going to unearth a lot of stuff that was hidden. Also, we want to treat this. As a matter of fact, I did one similar to this on the 18th down in Atlanta. Had helicopters flying over the building, about 5 of them. The heat went out. Although we did get through it and all, form of warfare, a lot of things did happen. And I knew that, but then again, I fixed them, so I said, well, if I don't get it this time, and we did do a good job, but we was talking about applying some energy, so I knew that I was going to be able to repeat this again. The thing about it is I went to several places. I went to Los Angeles about a week after that, and then I went to Cleveland. Those were my first time being out there, so therefore it was a younger crowd, so therefore I couldn't go into this particular science, although by the end of the actual lecture I was able to break into some of this. So, but by that being my first time coming out there, I needed to go back to more of a blueprint form of the basis of metaphysics and occult sciences, and then bring them into this. So that means that now, since we're back in Trenton, this is about my 6th or 7th time being here, I get to basically, go back into this. And plus I said, this is cutting edge and research and stuff that we need to know, especially in the year 2000, and as we go into the particular science of what the government is actually doing, we'll know that in actuality, that we need as much science as we can get also. So, as usual, on this day of the 23rd, what we do is we'll give the ancestors some. Now this is Maya's rum. How much is this one? About what? About $11, you know. You can get a smaller one for like $6. Right. And then there's another one, I think, bigger one for like, huh?
40.
How much?
About $40.
About 40 for the big one, and then they got one.
Well, the one about the,
yeah.
That's a fifth, I think, right?
Yeah.
So the I guess a half gallon, I'm sure it's about $40.
About $40. It's a really expensive rum and all. This is 11, but I'm saying they tend to like this. Now, what we're doing here is we're dealing with science and all. What we need to do is we need to take this particular science off of the realm of superstition and bring it back into its scientific, alchemical, and chemical realm. To give you an example, here's a brother, PhD, Reginald Crosley, MD, wrote a book called Voodoo Quantum Leap. And he's explaining in this book on how this stuff actually lines up with the tenets of quantum physics. You see, quantum physics and mystical dimensions and stuff that the white boys is dealing with now. So what happens is this. These Europeans would tap into this particular information, let's say 100 years ago, 140 years ago, by taking all the stuff that they got of us around the world. But what they will do is, they will hold on to it and don't come out with the legitimacy of it and tell you, oh, that's that old crazy, superstitious, posh, whacked out stuff, until they can find the mathematical equations to explain the same science mathematically, or let's put it this way, in their European term of mathematics, or in their European term of physical science, which is limited. So it might take them 100 years just to explain some of these age-old sciences, and then when they put it out, and once they get it, they'll put it out, and then they'll go, hey, look what we got. And the first thing you go is, man, the white man is great, man, because he's coming up with all these inventions. But the key here, that's a form of mind control to let you understand his supremacy. If he comes up with all cutting-edge aspects of science, that still keeps you as a subject, a mental subject, to think that he is superior and you are inferior. Meanwhile, he has libraries, museums, full of all this advanced science that he still can't explain the ultimate reality, but the stuff that he might take 100 years to do, you see, he'll still tell you that your stuff is foolishness. And yet he's dealing with the same quantum physics, chaos mathematics, new paradigm science, different, all types of new laws of physics. You see what I'm saying? And he calls it shadow matter, dark matter, this and that. You see, and you're still thinking in the realm of science and all that. In actuality, the only thing he's doing is explaining some stuff that you had millions of years ago. That's another thing. The concept is to change the timeline up to about 6,000 years so it can fit his existence, and you'll think he's always been here. That's a super form of mind control. If you think a person has always been here, you think that you got to accommodate him, although he's killing your people. And that's a form of mind control, to think that he has always been in this particular aspect of what you call creation. So these are mind control techniques. And so all of the stuff that the African mind is afraid of is stuff that the European has sat down and conspired to say, we're going to make this particular information the scapegoat, and we're going to make it the fear of the world, as voodoo. Spiritual voodoo, or what you call voodoo, or voodoo, as we know, kicked them in the behind in Haiti. So as a result, after Haiti was liberated by a spiritual aspect as well as an elite fighting force, in the 1950s they decided we're going to make this an all-out enemy, and as a result the mind control worked so good, and to this day we are scared of any type of alternative religions outside of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, which in actuality are political systems of moralism and have nothing to do with the real spiritual aspect of how the world works. But the key here is to always separate the spiritual from the science. And if you can separate the spiritual from the science, and you are trained on a scientific element, then you will always think that that's some crazy stuff. And this is a form of mind control that we need to rid ourselves with, because it's all in the mind on how we function on all levels and what we think. And we'll get into a lot of that particular stuff. We're going to go deep into the actual physiological, sexual aspect of different things. And all this has been deemed persona non grata, taboo to this establishment in age-old religions, especially around 2,000 years ago, which was something to take over the whole world. Like I said, this Reginald Crossley book, to help you along, Voodoo Quantum Leap, Reginald Crossley, PhD, deals with it. I just think that, unfortunately, I think that he tends to uphold the whole quantum theory and all this stuff more than he, and compare the voodoo to the quantum theory, other than the quantum theory and all that compared to the voodoo, because one works and one doesn't. The quantum is still just a theory. The voodoo is real, reality. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about advanced science, and we'll get into this particular thing. We'll give you a brief, and I'll repeat it after we do the libations, because this is a part of it, is the ancient mystical priests had a system, a scientific system of alchemy, chemistry, astronomy, astrology, dimensional work, all types of electromagnetic force fields, and all types of quantum realities. And they had this particular information. And over the years, thousands of years, the scientific part died out. Because as a priesthood or as educational systems tend to break up, which is the first law of the universe, is all things fall apart. All things fall apart. That's the first law of the universe. When I went out to LA, here it is again, because they're like 10 years behind the whole East Coast. So here's this question again. If we were so great, why did we fall? And I'm saying you must understand that the universe is in a flux. All things change. That's the first law of chaos, or what they call chaos theory now. All things fall apart. All things change. Chaos is supreme and reigns supreme in that it is the master of change. And so by us being the oldest people on the earth since the beginning of time, all things fall apart. But like we always say, if we rule for thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the physical and millions of years in the non-physical, then the amount of time of our demise would be like an intermission period. It would literally be like 15 minutes. So we must understand scientific aspect of this thing. All things fall apart, and it's not a tragedy. It's a form of transmutation through putrefaction. You see what I'm saying? Rot is good. Decay is good.
Yeah.
You see, all things must go back to chaos. There's a book that deals with that too. This particular one here, I think on the first O'Flaherty's book, Wendy O'Flaherty's book, Hindu Myths. I've narrowed it down because she has the Rig Veda. It's all right because it's just the text. This one is one of the best ones. Chaos and Order, Introduction, page 11. All things fall apart. You see, all things fall apart. Even William Shakespeare, it says, nothing of him that does fade, but does suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. So basically, even William Shakespeare, who was an occultist, understood this. All things fall apart. All things must change. And chaos is a series of change. No, a series of things, a series of events where change is supreme. That's one of the keys. And so we also dealing with melanin. The stuff, another name, there's several names in the Hindu stuff. We get always breaking new stuff down on the whole melanin science. New stuff in the Hindu stuff called gunas, tamas, and rasas. This is stuff, and it tells you that these gunas, tamas, and rasas are nothing but mercurial energy. And this mercury is not the physical mercury that they named this, whatever this stuff they put in for thermometers. The mercury in alchemy is basically the black substance, the negrito, the primal material, the mercurous. And it says that this particular mercurous substance, one thing about this melanin substance, one thing it cannot do, in its substance itself, it can never go back to its original form. It always has to transmutate, transmigrate, just like a journey. It can never go back to its original form. So therefore, the whole concept of us returning to the ancient realm is ludicrous when we're supposed to transmutate into a new species. Whole movie, the X-Men, we're going to break down, dealing with this. In 2000, last weekend, and this weekend, and you best believe that they didn't release it in the height of the summer solstice for no reason. And the only elemental force that was older than all of them was Storm. Because all of them was a mutation, but Storm, which was the black woman Halle Berry, which is Oya, which is one of the most supreme aspects of nature, was the oldest of all of them when you think about it, which is the goddess Oya. Here again, talking about science. Talking about science. Oya is the Nigerian or the West African god of storms, weather, force. You see, Shango is lightning. You see, so we're talking about different aspects of science. So right now we want to deal with some scientific aspects by pouring the actual libation. So what we do here is this one. Now it's interesting because I got a sister named Shakira. Shakira was in Atlanta from 1993 to 99, and she moved back to Los Angeles. Now Shakira would blow this rum in her car, and she's riding around with no insurance. Got stopped by the police, gave them a 10-year-old insurance paper, and the man said, move right along, you can go on about your business. You see what I'm saying? And basically, she's doing that right now. She's been, that was 4 or 5 years ago. That was during the Olympics. She's still riding with no insurance with this thing. You see. So, we're talking about, but what are we talking about here? We're talking about scientific elements. And although a lot of times we might not be able to explain what went on in the chemical breakdown, but we understand that at one time, this was logged in as scientific elements, so you take this rum and you do the same thing to change the electromagnetic force field. And in so many words, by giving a certain amount of elemental spirits that we call gods a certain energy because they like this rum. And they tend to like this Mayas, the Appleton, anyone from the islands, but mainly your Jamaican rum, they really like it. And this Mayas, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. So we'll both blow the four corners. We're dealing with this because we're also dealing with the god Elegba, which is this particular staff, and the four corners. Elegba represents earth, water, fire, air, and the four corners are what you call the four elements. So we blow in 4 ways also with the rum. Well, I guess All right, I'll show you. You spit the rum, I guess I'll post some to them. First of all, let me libate for self. You figure you don't give them nothing that you ain't willing to take. We talking about spirits now. They know everything, so don't say, I don't drink this one, I'm going to give it to them. They're like, you ain't one of us? Is not man? Is it not written in the law that ye are gods? Now, as it's time, so we pour a good July 23rd libation. You know what I'm saying? Which is also bringing this particular energy. And we are also in a system of warfare right now. That's what I had to explain to the people in the last lecture. And it was interesting because they thought they was going to a lecture. I said, no, we're going to a form of warfare. Now, obviously, the government knew about it because they had helicopters flying all around. I mean, there was about 5 of them. And when they figured it out that it was something that was going to happen on another plane, then they left about 3 hours later. But they were scared. And I'm saying, now, you ought to know that in actuality, because it was called Voodoo Chaos War. And I said, you ought to know that in actuality, you might think this is bull, but this is real. So what we're talking about, and as a result, a lot of the people's lives were actually changed just by being in that particular warfare. A lot of stuff happened, even on the prosperity tip. Because what we was talking about, the warfare was basically changing certain electromagnetic force fields and energies, not outward also, but also inward. Also inward. So let's put a libation. Give a good July 23rd libation. Only tutu. I say, only tutu. I say, any tutu. I say, Tutu and Legba. I say, hold on, let me do something first. Hold up. I want to do this right. Hold on a minute. I want to do this right. I want to give the, first I want to give the invocation to, I want to do the libations to Ishu. Ishu is also a Legba. He's the opener of the gate of the crossroads, and if you pour to Ishu, you invoke Ishu, the energies flow, and the energies can't flow not unless you invoke Ishu first. Ishu, which is be a form of Tahuti in Hemmitt, Egypt, be a form of John the Baptist, one that comes before Christ in Christian mythology before it was turned to history. Mythological aspect, historicalized, it would also be a form of Hermes in Greece, Iberus in Islam, and basically it's talking about the doorway, or it's also a form of Anubis, Anpu, the guide of the souls through the underworld. So it's Ishu or Legba in West Africa. So Ishu Oro, I say Ishu Ipum, I say Ishu Alaku, I say Ishu Asari, I say Ishu Gogogo, I say Ishu Wara, I say Ishu Jelayu, I say Ishu Adir, I say Ishu Adira, I say Ishu Ibida, I say Ishu Agangagara, I say Ishu Ikum, I say Ishu Hawaii, I say Ishu Lala, I say Ishu Pasawara, I say Ishu Kai Donji, I say Ishu Lepa, I say Ishu Imala, I say Ishu Akani, I say Ishu Koko, I say Zarabanda, which would be your, Zarabanda is the Palamanombi, which is the Santeria, dark side of, found in Puerto Rico. And when we say dark side, we're talking about shadow matter. We're talking science here now, other than some spooked out shit. So, Zarabanda, Ashe. Anubis, Tahuti. Ashe. Hermes. Ashe. Okay, alright, let's deal with this. Omi Tutu, I say Ani Tutu, I say Iri Tutu, I say Tutu Aleba, I say Kofi Ka, I say Kofi Arun, I say Kofi Io, I say Kofi Obo, I say Kofi Intida, I say Kofi Fataba, I say Akababa Waya, I say Motobo Alafi, I say Motobo Risha, I say Motobo Ikutu, I say Motobo Iku, I say Nilu Mare Oru, I say Motobo Ikamasi, I say Yobobo Gobo Ialasa, I say Nikamasi, I say. Alright. Okay, let's deal. Ain, I say Ain Saraura, I say Shapma, I say Dal, I say Maina, I say Chess, I say Gebera, I say Kibera, I say Masa, I say Ha, I say Yaset, I say Malkut, I say Malkut, I say Osea, I say Sut, I say Sut Nubit, I say Sut Nessi, I say Suthar, I say Nu, I say Ampit, I say Tayamer, Tayama, I say Tayer, I say Inanna, I say Authority, I say the Titans, I say the Asuras, I say the Nephers, I say the Nephilim, I say the Netters, I say the Asuras, I say Rudra, I say Sheba, I say Rudra Sheba, I say Pavadi, I say Sadi, I say, okay, all right. Osea, I say Tahuti, I say Mat, I say Maya, I say Ptah, I say Sut, I say Amin-Ra, I say Amin-Rinthasa, I say Het-Heru, I say Anpu, I say Aset, I say Nepturt, I say Brahmin, I say Vishnu, I say, y'all gotta go a little higher than that shit now. Bring it on up a little bit to get the energy. I say Ramachandra, I say Shiva, I say Inasuda, I say Sita, I say Hamlet, I say Lakshmi, I say Jasiya, I say Dambalawedo, I say Marasha, I say Bridget, I say Adamberti, I say Opreli, I say Osengo, I say Okuli, I say Adawedo, I say Zach, I'm straight, Zekba, I say Zaka, I say Lafi, I say Waka, I say Zuluwa, I say Zula, I say Ogun, I say Shango, I say Oshun, I say Legba, I say Yiminya, I say Oya, I say Rishoku, I say Oshoshi, I say Olaku, I say Damaluaye, I say Ifa, I say Loa, I say. Let's get one more list now. I'm gonna get these right here. Let's deal with these. Agasu, I say Agui, I say Eredo, I say Azain, I say Awas, I say Dada Samadi, I say Barrios Torres Combs, I say Bridget Lacroix, I say Dambala, I say Ozuli, I say Gede, I say Grand Boris, I say La Serene, I say Legba, I say Laco, I say Marasha, I say Mishri, I say Abun, I say Simbi, I say Papa Zaka, I say Papa Gede, Ashe, all right. Okay. So I guess they got the point. We give a special shout out today for the goddess Sekhmet, because this is also the goddess of sexual heat and the summer solstice also too. So let's give a special shout out with the rum to goddess Sekhmet. All right. All right. And that goes for Sekhmet. Special shout out to the goddess Maya, as well as this goddess Hemmitt. We're going to get into that also too. We're going to get into that also too. So now, let's get into some science and get into some actual things we're going to cover also today also. Well, I got the rum all on me, so. But it's all good. I guess I libate myself. I want to deal with some things right now, because also we know that the time is to stand up and be counted. And that's what it is. The government wants to count you to see how many people they killed in the 1990s, which was literally uncountable millions on the planet, which was set up and determine how many people that they will kill in the 2000s. You see what I'm saying? So you had your major census here, and the same time you had your census here, you had a census in Africa. Ain't that amazing? And also the same time we had the census here, you had the whole so-called AIDS breakout, supposedly. Now, this makes a lot of sense, because there's a lot of scholars out here saying that there was no such thing as AIDS in the beginning. And basically, if they're killing you, they'll use AIDS as the excuse. You see what I'm saying? Which makes sense, because when you really think about it, we're talking about a sexual transmitted disease. Now, come on now. Ain't with so many extracurricular activities that everybody on the planet got. So that means that if it was truly a sexual transmitted disease, that they would have wiped out the whole population by now. Now, two things, because they got some doctors that deal with this stuff, and they can swear that it is that. I guess I can sit down also too. They say that they can swear that it is. Well, let's put it this way, then. For the sake of argument, we might have two things going on here. They might physically have a germ warfare called AIDS, literally. But whether this is the case now, or what they're putting on the people in the 2000s, or in the 90s, could just be generally killing people. Now, in 1996, they just came up and said, look, you can just mail in your doggone AIDS test. Now, come on now. Who's to say, if you mail in the AIDS test, that they don't come out and say, you HIV positive when you're not? And pretty much this is how this particular science is going. They just automatically, it's just like the draft. You HIV positive. And based on your status, you HIV positive. Now this is the key. I had a friend, good friend of mine, that went to school with me in the AU Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And after a series of years, I come to figure out that this guy was a government agent. After years of just some stuff that just didn't add up. But I remember him saying that he went and took an AIDS test, and they had him HIV positive. And he went back downtown, and they said, no, you're not HIV positive. When they found out who it was, the guy that was working for him, they automatically said that he wasn't HIV positive. Now, we know this even with the Magic Johnson thing, where they can announce a person is HIV positive, and he outlived everybody on the damn planet. And now he doesn't have it. Which is also a test to tell you that they fooling your behind. Now, the key when it comes to Africa, what we're talking about here is, they just basically just killing people and calling it AIDS. You see. And so they had a census in Africa the same time. Do you know, one brother just got back from Ghana, and he said that they don't even know the leaders of Ghana, but they know Martin Luther King and they know Jesus. Now, well, naturally, Jesus, he's been over there for a couple of years based on colonization. But Martin Luther King, which was a person that would have been here in this country, would be totally alien to them. That means in actuality, there's something that the government is actually doing to get a certain mindset that the black people have the same mindset all over the planet. He said his brothers don't even know they doggone leaders over there, but they know what black people doing over here. As well as, you know, you got the Crips and Bloods in South Africa and that whole 9 yards. And that whole 9 yards. So, one of the keys here is this whole thing. Now, this is one of the keys. They said that they have announced that it took them from 1776 to 1990 to get 1 million people in jail, in prison. And it only took them 10 years from 1990 to doggone, from 1990 to 2000 to get another million. You know, basically that's all black people. You know what I'm saying? That's all black people. You see. So, and I mentioned this in the last lecture because I wanted to reiterate this because it coincides with what I said when I came here last year and said that they was paying white people to be citizens. And then they came out with the information right before Christmas that what was the stats? I know that the white people's income rose 15%. Excuse me, middle class income rose 15% with this so-called heightened economy. But the poor income only rose 1%. That don't make sense. If it's a heightened economy, the poor income had to at least rise at least 5%. But 1% means that 1% is nothing. That means it didn't rise. But yet one factor can rise 15%. And so this proves the fact what I was saying, where they're paying these people off and funneling it into their bank accounts, and that's why black people can't make the adjustment or don't understand what's going on. Or that's why other white people who are not deemed fit to be paid don't understand this also too. And they can afford to do it because the simple fact we're talking about wiping out large populations of the black worker society. And now, I don't care where you go in America, it's all Mexican. You see, we're not talking about out west. I go to Chicago, all Mexicans. North Carolina, all Mexicans. South Carolina, all Mexicans. Virginia, all Mexicans. But this is key. You can afford to pay people if you got a slave race working for $2 a damn day. Whatever. You know how it is. So we're talking about a penal colony. Now, it's interesting. I didn't bring the one I was supposed to bring, but it's interesting because the white boys was telling me this. I talked about the Breitling watch. They got a Breitling watch called a Breitling Emergency. Now, this is a watch that if you go down on the planet, you pull this little, screw this button out, they come and get you. And I got a fake one from up in New York. This is a nice watch, just a little piece to pull out. It's on there, but it don't work. So it costs, I don't know, that thing can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $40,000. But but it was interesting. When I went to see one of these watches, because you can see the other ones in just regular fine jewelry stores. When I went to see one, the man was like, we can't carry them in the United States. He said it's against the law. He said not only that, he said it's about, it might be a $3,000 penalty if you just so happen to go to Europe, probably go to Canada or the Virgin Islands or wherever and buy one of these things. If you pull the button, you might get just a $5,000 penalty. You see. And it was very interesting. So he said, well, look, now what I'm saying is this thing has a homing device on it, and if a plane goes down, or a boat goes down, if you pull this button wherever you are on the planet, they will come and get you. And I said, I was interested in why the Kennedy boy didn't have one of them shit. I mean, it is a pilot's watch. But this is something very interesting here. When the white boy was explaining to me, I said, well, why you can't get it in America? He said, because this is set up on universal time, or universal signal wave. Just basically the earthly. And America don't go by that, but why? Because America is a penal colony. That's the key. America is a penal colony and a prison. And it is not set up on the rest of what they call maritime law, whatever they all the foolishness. It's set up, it's a penal colony, and they can't have the same time sequence that they can have in Africa or any other place. You see, that particular, the actual, the frequencies, they call it. And if you know, the first laws of Hermetic sciences, the first law is the law of the universe, is the law of vibration. That's your Kabbalion. The holy, well, not the Kabbalah, but the Kabbalion, the three initiates. The first law of the universe is the law of vibration. So America cannot be set up on the same vibration of any other country outside of it, and also any indigenous countries. But on the other hand, America is a penal colony. And in this particular case, it's a penal colony of severe mind control. You see, severe mind control. Now, I was out in Los Angeles, we passed by Universal Studios, and also Columbia. We're talking about places that's more guarded. You can get on a doggone Air Force base, or you can get on a damn any Army base. You just ride up on that shit the right way, so you know. Faster than you can get into Universal Studios or get into Columbia Pictures. So we're talking about, not it's just they're trying to protect some damn stars, because most of them are shooting on location places. What we're talking about here is the most advanced mind control on the planet, and they can't have anybody going in and out of that thing. You see what I'm saying? Going out of that. It's amazing things that's actually going down. Now, also, too, and I want to get into this, on how you can take a people. Now, if anybody got to take Goodbye Uncle Tom, clearly, it documents the breeding period or the breeding aspect that went into slavery. Now, we must understand and go deeper into this thing based on breeding. If somebody breeds you, that means that person has put a blueprint that they don't give a damn how much you run your mouth, they bred you. And not only can you, when you breed a dog, you know everything that dog is going to do. But you can go and retrain, or you can go and restructure a new form of breeding and give that dog and deprogram that dog from the old mindset and reprogram him and rebreed him into a new reality. And that's what we think is happening to black people right now. Now, one thing is this, what we mean by that. The Uncle Toms in the community used to be a clandestine group of people, about 3 or 4, in a community of hundreds. That was the persona non grata. Everybody used to point their finger. That's the sellout. And nobody wanted to be called an Uncle Tom. You know what I'm saying? That was a social pariah. Now the government has come in, and he has made a certain system of his so appealing until now anybody is dealing with anything pro-black or alternative to American system is now a social pariah and the outcast. So he has made, literally turned this thing around, and he's made a race of Uncle Toms based on the social fabric of what do people do. Basically, they just sell the fuck out. And he's totally reversed this thing in 30 years. And he did it based on convincing you chip on your shoulder.
Right.
That's the key. They did it in the corporate world. Now, there's human survival. If someone does you wrong, if someone injures you, you immediately develop an immunity based on a defense system. That's just human survival. You see what I'm saying? You build up a barrier, you see, to filter out that which came against you in the first place. So we had built up a barrier from years of oppression. And he came in based on mind control and convinced us that we have a chip on our shoulder. And the chip was the actual defense system. And when he convinced us, we let down our defense system. And basically, in so many words, he programmed us into a new reality. And in so many words, we basically were the only people that melted totally and became this race of Uncle Toms and Thomasinnas. Whereas you are now the dinosaur and the outcast if you're just talking about basic defense. We're not talking about offense. That's another thing that we can't deal with. You see what I'm saying? We're not talking offense. We're talking about defense. You know what I'm saying? It's just this same mindset. Somebody gonna tell you that he can send your child to Vietnam to murder somebody on the offensive, the tech offensive. But yet you can't be offensive at home. You can't even be defensive. You gotta take an option of passivism altogether. This is doggone mind control. You know what I'm saying? So you can't even be offensive, and see, a form of defense means that in actuality you're gonna defend yourself. You see what I'm saying? And yet his whole game is offense. So what we're talking about here is a form of offense that we're talking about here also too, because lives are dying. We're talking about people dying. We're talking about close to, well, let's see, 75,000 Africans dying a month with the AIDS. Now that ain't including famine, which now with the heart program, you got the famine thing going on. You know, with electromagnetic force field and the technology. The science of hurricane storms and stuff. Pull it back. It's about to fall. Okay, here. Yeah. Yeah. Hurricane storms and stuff. We're talking about all types of major technology. We're not just including that. We're not including the warfare based on what they call quote-unquote warlords, which is government-installed leaders. And we don't understand the technology of cloning, human cloning since 1945, that they can do any kind of thing they want to. And that's the problem. The problem is, how is it, and I make this analogy here, we don't have a system of investigation and inquiry into the powers that be. As a matter of fact, we are trained that if you investigate anything of the powers that be, that in actuality, you got a chip on your damn shoulder. And you wrong and you a racist.
Yeah.
For keeping records on an oppressor. Oh, we need to forget about it. We need to all live together. Now, this is some stuff on advanced mind control. How is it that we can't investigate the oppressor and investigate the oppressor and keep records on a diabolical beast that has been killing not just us, but just killed everything on the earth plane?
Everything.
And he's not worthy of being investigated. But yet every aspect of his society is a form of record keeping. You go to college, he got you on record whether you got your degree. You get credit cards, he got you on record whether you got good credit. You see what I'm saying? You get a driver's license, they got it on record. If you go to Radio Shack, they got your ass on record.
Buy a house.
You buy a house. Every aspect of the society is based on being accountable, based on being records. He keeps records on every aspect of the society. But you're not allowed to keep records on him. You a damn racist. Yet they got shit you did when you was 5, stole a damn bubble gum, and you can be 50 trying to get a house, and they can bring that shit up. But yet we can't keep records on him. You see what I'm saying? So on the other hand, if a person invents technology 40 years prior to giving it to the world and keep it from the world, the average human will argue whether the technology is available or valid. All because he does things in secret. And when he gives us the technology, it's always 20 to 40 years behind time.
That's right.
So therefore, we say that 98% of everything that comes on the news now is manufactured. 98% of all of it. You see, is manufactured. Now I said in 95, we sitting on the porch. We on Juju's steps in Atlanta. A guy's running, helicopter come by and shoot this Negro 14 times. Don't make the news. But yet a Diallo or Luima, the guy gets drugged in Texas, the guy gets electrocuted. All that makes the news based on mind control on certain cardinal points of the spring solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, and fall equinox, as well as the holidays they give you around this, as well as the black man got hung in Mississippi, right in the beginning of the doggone summer solstice. And we don't understand that they got people die every day by the hands of the cops and they don't even make the news. I went to Detroit for some people to tell me about a killing in Atlanta that happened 2 days before I went to Detroit. You see what I'm saying? You got to go out of town just to get a better perspective on what's going on in town. So we're talking about a system of mind control. And so the key now with the mind control is to always keep your mind occupied. Remember, the first rule of mind control, if you can subtract the conscious mind, you can keep the conscious mind, you can keep the subconscious mind, you can do what you want with it. You see what I'm saying? You can do what you want with it. You see? So, this whole concept of news that we get is total fake. Now, like I said, I'm up there in the doggone model train station. This guy gonna kill himself. He gonna jump in the train, and this train must have was going real fast. Because he jumped in front of the train and wasn't up with blood and guts. Just like a big splatter. Everybody out there looking at the blood and guts, it didn't even make the news. You see, but yet you can find some stuff that make the news in some Texas, like foolishness, like, come on, man. We gotta pick better shit than somebody. Number one, we need to be a world-class people to understand prisoners of war. Now, the guy that got executed back here in Texas, he killed a lot of people. Let's just say even if he was innocent, because we don't even want to judge that thing, because the white man kill everybody each day. So what's the damn? I mean, it's the status quo. The point I'm trying to make here is, we need to, like the Mumia thing, that should be a prisoner of war. That should not be a thing that you rally behind because you never beg your enemy to redeem you. Otherwise, he wouldn't be your enemy. That's foolish. That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous. We so-called good Christians, but hell, even in the Bible aspect, they say, shit, that's the first thing you say you're going to do. If you believe in some shit, you're going to die for it. And if this is a tyrannical government, that's a contradiction. Because to beg your enemy to save you means that your enemy is somehow all right. Right. And that's an oxymoron. How can an enemy be all right? You see? So my point is, don't sing no fucking lullabies for me. If so happen, They lock me down, which you can't do because that's a whole other thing.
Right.
That's just for the people that think in actuality that this world is really what it is and America is really what it is. And also God is really what it is. We'll get into that science also. If you line up around the wrong cherubim and seraphim system, your ass is grass. We'll get into that also too. Whole spiritual warfare going on. If you map out the actual omniverse and universe like the ancient Hemmites and all them did. Everything ain't just everybody, ain't just everybody. And the point here is, but you don't beg your oppressor. See, this is when you're a world-class people, that's a subject. That's a doggone subject. Of people that beg the enemy. That's a, you can kick that dog with the ass all he wants. As long as you got that elbow, he'll be back there tomorrow begging for some of that shit. You can put a hot poke up his butt. But you got the alcohol, he coming to eat. Damn that, he ain't gonna hold no grudge based on you kicking up the ass and I ain't gonna eat this food. And that's basically the animal level they got us on. The Stockholm Syndrome. Where the kidnapper, the kidnapped become the kidnapper. Or the sheep become the damn sheepdog. You see. So the point here is a world-class people, a historically world-class people, never begs the enemy. That's why the Native Americans used to say it's a good fucking day to die.
Good day to die.
What's a good day to die?
Good day to die.
And that even your mom in the movie Braveheart, Thunderheart, he said they can't break the resistance. Some of us have to die. You see? Because when you start begging, he got you. This is the concept of a world-class. There's certain things that is paramount to civilization, like marrying your own wife. And we say what we like about this is the great American melting pot, but isn't it funny that all what we say the white man isn't, one thing he is, he's better than the black man in this aspect that he's married his own species half. He might have a string of doggone black women on the side, concubines. But when it comes to the structure and when it comes to the archetype of what he's going to call his species half as to be the emblem of what is marriage, it's going to be his goddamn white woman. And no matter how beastly he is, he understands the basic laws of civilization and the basic laws of human society is you marry your species half, at least on a symbolic level. Pussy is pussy. You can do that anytime. But you marry your species half. This is paramount for doggone basic aspects of civilization.
We know what's that.
You see what I'm saying? And it's therapeutic, psychologically, for the offspring, for the woman, and for him. You see what I'm saying? So this is some stuff also too. Now, now this is interesting here, going right along. So anyway, like we say, always look for a whole lot of shit to go down in these solstices. Well, in this case, you know, these cardinal points, summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, fall equinox, this shit never stop happening. Because there's stuff going all the way through October, November, December, the spring, it's always going on. And if they can keep you always distracted, to not recognize that doorway of energy to take them off the damn planet, they'll keep on doing this shit. And so it's interesting how we always go to running. Just think about the thousands and thousands of people that marched on South Carolina for a damn flag. But yet, 10 years earlier, they put crack in the community. Every black person knows that the crack was put in the community by the government, and they want it, and not only that, killed off thousands of people died. They built thousands of jails and put a new form of slavery, and nobody said shit. But yet they can raise a damn flag that they've had since we got here, and people march from all over the place. What an asinine people. You gonna march on a flag, but you don't march on crack. And then the cracker came out in 1996 and said, hey, I put the damn crack in the community. He came right out and said it. And yet, we asked the damn enemy to investigate himself. What an asinine people. Idiots. Because we must ask, let me show you another. I was out in LA. You're not going to believe this shit. I was out in Los Angeles. Yes, that water's good. That's, yeah. Bring me that water up here. Yeah, give me that water, brother. Oh, well, I guess sister energy is better.
Definitely.
Pass from one hand to the other. Let your woman feed you. Yeah. I think that's my cup of, I think it's over there on that table there with you. Yeah. That's it. And yeah. I'm getting pumped up. Get some more drugs up in me. Now, what it is, when I was in LA, I had to stop because when I poured them libations, they settle in your head and they give you energy. And you have to cool this thing out. But anyway, let me, I'll just pour that in. But anyway, I'm straight. Yeah. But anyway, I was in LA. You're not going to believe this thing. Okay. I'm in LA. They got a church. You're not going to believe this. These black people. There's a church that Denzel Washington, Magic Johnson, and Brandy, and all the stars go to. They got, they got them a church that all the stars go to. They got a damn church. They all the stars go to this thing. They're building a brand new church. Now the church they got is huge. They building a church. You're not gonna believe this shit. It looked like a coliseum, just like the Forum, the Spectrum. It looked like a doggone coliseum, but it looked like the half baseball field. These Negroes are paying $70 million to build a damn church. Now the average idiot black person to go, that's great. About the Lord. We don't understand that around the earth, there's people looking at us and saying, wait a minute, now let's look at the magnitude of this. This shit is on Crenshaw Boulevard, which is goddamn Beirut. There's people around the world looking at this thing and going, wait a minute, now let's look at this thing. These people been in this country. Well, we can't count when they was in chattel slavery, or servitude slavery. But they've been out of slavery 135 years. And they never did shit for themselves since, well, let's put it this way, let's clear this up. Since the 1950s, since they tore down the economical empire we call segregation, which was an economic vast empire. But these people since then hadn't done anything for themselves on a mass level for economic renewal. And here in the heart of the Beirut disaster area, which would create thousands of jobs, they go and they take $70 million to put in a building. Just a building. To jump up and down in. Now you're supposed to be a world-class people on the verge of the millennium. Meanwhile, the government is coming and they financing, they're giving them all the breaks. If they say, if you don't have 70 million, we'll put another 60 million with it. To make sure that you got that church. That's the reason. Because it sends this signal around the world on how savage you are. That there's something wrong with your mind when you are in the middle of a doggone trauma or crisis and you window dress. Bill Gates didn't start off with no $70 million. Walmart started off with a horse and buggy. And here you mean to tell me you can amass $17 million and none of it is for some type of economical structure. Just take $70 million and buy fucking guns would be more noble than a damn church. And we got a church on every corner.
And a bar.
Bar, check cash in place, take your pick, liquor store. What I'm trying to make here is,
What's wrong with that?
well, we need some spirits, because we damn sure ain't getting them out of that
That's
jumping up and down Kurt Franklin.